Where we at? Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel today. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to talk a little bit more about scratch building and things like that. I had a subscriber, Mac Daddy. I think you guys all watch him. He's been reaching out. He is wanting to start scratch building some stuff. And I've been corresponding with him. So, Steve, this is basically for you. And we're just going to talk about my thought process and things I keep on hand, stuff like that. We'll get into it a little bit more. But first off, we got to do another Christmas card shout out. We got to say Christmas card from Dan the Man. So Dan, thank you very much for that. You will join the other ones here on the bench, and we'll get your sticker put up here on the wall. But let's go over here to my display room real quick first and get this conversation started. Now, I apologize. It's been kind of took over for, hiding Christmas presents for now, but it is what it is. Scratch building. So let's talk about that. This body was all scratch built. I just recently built that on the channel. This one you can go back and watch. That was all scratch built, as was the pump and everything, the front bumper on that. This body was all scratch built. I believe that's on the channel too. That's a resin cab. This body work was all scratch built. I don't know if that was on the channel or not, but it might be. This one was all scratch built. What else we got? This one was all scratch built, just the body. And then this one back right here was all scratch built, as was this. AMT pumper body. The AMT pumper body kit. Same thing here. Same thing there. AMT pumper body kit, but that's a resin cab. That is the Alfa 700 series truck. The body is scratch built by me, but it comes as a kit from Ranger Detail Technologies. And then that is the 3D printed cab that they offer over there. These two right here are the 60 Ford pickup kit. Again, the AMT pumper kit body, but I modified with the high sides on the back of it here, and then done my own pump panel. And then the Ranger Detail Technologies Maxim cab 3D print. Straight up AMT pumper body, modified pump panel, and the top of it removed. AMT pumper body, modified pump panel, and Ranger Detail Technologies Pioneer 3 cab. That when I built this one, it was etched out of a Cricut machine, I believe, and you had to physically cut out all the panels and everything. So it's kind of a scratch build too, because you had to glue all the pieces together, just like when I was building that body. This one's a resin cab, and I used a truck kit, obviously, for the frame. I believe I extended the frame a little bit, and then just scratch built the body to you know, the dimensions of the wheelbase that we talked about on our current project. Same thing here. The AMT pumper body, modified pump panel, and then a resin cab that, you know, in order to get that all to fit, you have to modify the frame and stuff. I think I used the AMT. I used the frame out of this kit for that. You can tell by the wheels and tires are all the same. And then over here, of course, we've got these two down here with the scratch built bodies. And these over here, this one's got an all scratch built body on it. This one is a scratch built body with the Mobius Ford pickup cab. And I think one of these that I built, I had posted up and called it my scrap built fire truck. It might have been one of the ones in the other cabinet. And then of course another Dodge, the Ranger Detail Technologies Pierce mini pumper body on that one. This one's got a scratch built body on it with the large reel of 5-inch hose. Let's see, that's the Diamond Rio truck kit that I removed the top on and just modified the AMT pumper body on it. Oh. Ambulance toppers, you know, that one was bought. This one was scratch built. The ambulance box back there, that was scratch built. So let's try to work our way back to the other room now and talk about some of this stuff. Now this is the table that I cut all my styrene on, and I've got loads of it. I've every time I find these the long pieces that come in these big packs, every time I see them somewhere, I buy them. I don't care what size it is, I buy it. And scraps, always keep your scraps. And I keep that on the floor so that it lays flat. I don't want to stand it up on edge anywhere for fear of it, you know, bowing on me over time. Same thing with this. This is the this is your standard evergreen that you see at any hobby shop. Okay, just comes in a regular pack. We got some 80,000s here. This stuff comes in all different sizes. I got a bunch of 80, 10, 20, and 40. This is plain 20,000s, and what it means by plain is it is smooth on both sides. You can find this stuff at any good hobby shop. It is actually manufactured for, you know, like it says here, model railroading, architectural, anything you want to do. This one's 15,000s, and it just goes on. But let me try to get this back up here now. I probably buy more styrene than I actually buy kits anymore. But one thing I always do cutting my styrene is I always save all my number 11 blades, and I use them over here on this table because you want to use this back side of it like this when you cut it. And it seems like the duller that this blade gets, the better it cuts. Then of course we got our straight edge here, you know, our aluminum straight edge, and then my steel one, which is what I use most of the time. And then of course the grid pattern on your cutting mat comes in really, really handy. Now we'll move back over here, and one thing Steve had asked me, you know, is what was my starting point, or how do I do that? And you know, that's all that is all in the dimensions that you come up with whatever you're working on. You know, that's why this the wheelbase was so critical, because it defined to me where this truck cab goes, okay? That truck cab is supposed to set just like that, and that told me what I had left to work with. And it doesn't matter if you're building, you know, a mini pumper body, an ambulance, a rescue truck, whatever. I always do it the same way. I start with that wheelbase, and I figure out, okay, this is what I have to work with. If I'm building an ambulance with this frame in mind, that would more than likely be too short. So then, using the grid pattern on my mat, I say, well, if I want to extend that, you know, if I line this up center line, if I tell myself, well, that's too short, I'm going to go back, you know, another inch. I get that measurement, I lay it out on my paper, and I sit down and start drawing on that paper, and that gives you the best ideal on the paper if that's what you want to do. If it doesn't look right, you know, you always have to start with your build your frame, you know, get your frame done, your wheels and tires on. You don't necessarily have to paint, you know, all this stuff, but assemble the frame. You can always use, you know, canopy glue to glue your wheels and tires on, because it holds really strong, it dries fairly quick, but it comes apart really easy too with a little bit of water. And that gives you your base to start your build. And you always have to have a good base, you know, and your base is your frame, your wheels and tires all assembled. That lets you know, can I construct what I want to with what I got, or do I have to modify? And modifying frames and stuff on model kits is not hard, especially when you have like this, you know, you have truck frames, you know, all this stuff is pretty much available from Evergreen. And there is just so much stuff in here that I use. You know, there's rods, there's angles, there's I-beams. I mean, you name it, I got it. And then I got one whole container full of, this is all tubing, all different size tube, you know, styrene tubing. And these guys are always sitting right there. They're always within reach. So you know, I'm just trying my best to explain how my mind, I guess, operates. Everybody has a different approach to scratch building. I am certainly no expert in the field. Um, I went years and years admiring others' work in magazines and stuff that had seen, and just always thought, man, how do you do that? I want to do that. And until about, I don't know, 24, 25 years ago, I was a model assembler, and just always fantasized about building these great fire trucks and stuff like that. And I just started buying the evergreen styrene and thought, you know what, I'm gonna figure this out. And I sat down, started cutting. Some of the first things I built looked, I mean, extraordinarily out of scale, way too big or way too small, and things did not look right. But that is the natural progression of, learning anything. I don't care if you're, you know, painting a house or whatever. If you've never held a paintbrush in your hand, you've never painted a house, you might finish it. It might not look great, but you finished it, right? But you also, along that travel, you learned what to do, what not to do. Pardon me. And the next time you go to paint a house, you're a little bit better at it because you've learned, no, this don't work, or I have to do this step first or that step first or second or whatever in order to complete the task. And that is all I basically do. I start every scratch build project out with I draw it out on paper and figure out what I need to cut, how I need to cut it. And I always go front to back. The first piece I always cut is that first piece right there. And then I notch it out for the frame that I'm setting on. Give yourself some wiggle room so you can, move it a little bit left or right. I always use these I-beams for the frame because that will get glued on to that styrene just like that. And it'll be nice and, it'll be a great contact point. So scratch building is more a state of mind than it is a world of confusion, I guess. And if you just break things down into simple shapes, simple processes, you learn. And with every one you do, you learn a little bit more. You get more handy at it, you get better at it, you get quicker at it, and things become second nature. To where, for me now, if I open a model kit up, I don't care what it is, I simply can't sit down and build that. That's 90% of the reason why I've not finished that Peterbilt back there. I have literally lost interest in it because there's nothing to sit down and scratch build something. It interests me to build it, just the parts in the kit. I can't maintain my interest in that, and that's a flaw on me. And hate me if you want, and I will finish that truck. I promise. I don't know when. I paid good money for it. I want to finish it, and I will. But it's the interest level. I want to do things that interest me, and unfortunately, model kit companies don't really produce the things that interest me. So again, that's another driving factor on scratch building, because that's what I want to build. Not a lot of people sell, 3D components for it. I know Tim over there at Ranger Detail is working on things, but the 3D printed world is coming along with the, fire equipment stuff, but it's not very fast. It's easier for me to go buy styrene and start drawing and start cutting. So I hope that answers some questions. I guess the best advice that you can take out of this video is go buy some styrene, pencil and paper, draw a box, just a rectangular box, make it oblong, whatever. Glue it together, take your drawing from the paper to the plastic, draw it out, see what you come up with, see if it's square, and invest in all this stuff. I never go to the hobby shop and not walk out with one or two of these. I don't care what it is. I buy, shapes, whatever, and I always have a steady supply on hand. The best material when you're scratch building something is your thickness, okay? I like to build stuff out of 40, but my go-to is the 80 thousandths. It's the thickest material you can buy. Wherever it went is to the bottom now. Here's some. It is the thickest material that Evergreen sells. And it's really, there's 2 sheets in here, but it is the most stable wine bag. It's the most stable product that they sell because of the thickness of it. It can get kind of heavy, so you got to be careful about what it is you're wanting to build. If you're doing something small, perfect. If you're doing a large project, I would probably go to the 60, maybe the 40 thousandths. And then I always butt joint all my corners together. Let me see if I can show this real quick. No, I've already got it covered up. I just butt joint my corners. I think you can see right there where those pieces were put together, and round them off. Always remember to round your corners off no matter what. No, I just do that with sanding sticks. So I don't want to blab too long. Like the winter wonderland is still upon us. I piddled around with started painting the interior stuff yesterday and this morning, so I think that's enough. So I hope I've answered most of your questions, but the biggest question or the best answer is just start. Man, go buy some plastic, cut it up, build anything, because no matter what you build, it's going to be great because you built it and it's the only one in existence, right? And that's why we all love this hobby. So thanks for watching, guys. I certainly do appreciate it. And with that being said, we'll see you in the next video.